to a place, a corner, to shed tears. That's not that kind of bullshit. And you're a journalist. You've not been arrested by youth for
university student, college students were being used to peddle drugs, to inject themselves with drugs. Now wakikosana na wale wadosi wao, some of them wanawaua. So for 8 months sikanyaga nyumbani.
They gave me a chicken.
I saw 13 kids lying on the ground. Nazafikiria wamelala, kumbe wamesha kufa.
I had this toxic guy, boss. Who love to do that? Tells you, well, do this. If you're writing about this guy, it must be like this.
You are going to the field with a GK vehicle. Yeah? Ukifika mahali you command respect, but when you go home, unaenda kunywa chai na ulale kama sapa. You don't have money.
Welcome. We are privileged to have journalists in the house, and we'll be talking about matters that are affecting journalists. Today on our very, very first podcast on Behind the Byline, we'll be bringing to you journalists. Today I have my guests Nathan Ochunge and Robert Amalemba, who are journalists. We want to share stories of basically behind the headline. They are journalists that have been going through a whole lot of issues, but also some things that are good and bad. But again, today we're just here to share our own experiences as journalists. And let me bring them in. Hey, Nathan, how are you?
I'm good.
Yes. And Malemba, karibu sana.
Santi.
Yes. So today, on this podcast, I've actually been thinking that a lot of things that are really happening, we don't know much about journalists. So today, I really want us to just share our stories. How has journalism been for you, Amalemba? Maybe if you can introduce yourself and then you just carry on.
Okay, thank you very much for having us in this podcast. My name, as you've heard, is Robert Amalemba, a journalist who writes and edits with an experience of over 10 years in the mainstream media, and now a freelance journalist doing brief for international media. And life as a journalist has been fantastic for me because I knew I would be a journalist while still in elementary school, because I used to be a competitive member in this practice competition. In practice competition, this practice and practice competitions. I really love them. I used to be in the debating clubs. I love to debate, share ideas, and in my heart of hearts, while still at that elementary level, I used to think that one day I would be a journalist. I used to read people like Barack Muluka, say, wow, this guy writes. One day I want also to write for a newspaper, and that's what I eventually became after undergoing a training at Sindonero University. Then I had a stint at the Standard for 10 years from 2014 to 2024, where I was a correspondent, then promoted to be a sub-editor, and later on, I left the Standard in 2024 after doing a lot of writing about politics, doing features. I did features largely in the western part of Kenya, covering the 4 counties of Busia, Bungoma, Kakamega, and Vihiga.
So we'll come into that, but I wanted to know, like you say that this is your dream career.
Yeah, this is my dream
career. At what point did you realize that I really want to be a journalist? How old were you?
About 13 or so years.
Okay. Did you have like a role model that you wanted to be? I want to be like so-and-so, other than just reading about Barack Muluka?
I didn't have a role model then, but I just had teachers.
Okay.
I like to actually commend this teacher, Madam Matioli. She really discovered something in me. She kept telling me, and then Mr. Sagala, the late, they kept telling me, You write very good compositions. You write very good wishes. Keep up. I want you to give me a 99 in English. Because they gave me a target. They told me the two that you should get 39 or 40 in the composition, and the rest, the other paper, just do the entire. I need a 99. Those are the teachers who actually molded me. That was back then in a school called Mumias Complex there in Mumias, and from there, the rest of the same became so go to high school. Then after high school is when I started reading serious business like newspapers, and I realized I noted people like Barak Muluka, Kwendo Opanga. I used to read them and admire them. Also, my father used to read newspapers. I mean, it will be so be unfortunate for me not to mention him, because he used to come home with a newspaper, and when he drops it there, comes back and finds no one has picked it. Actually come to us and ask us, hiyo gazeti nimeweka hapo, kwa nini hamjasoma? Hata kama hujui kusoma, kindly fill your crosswords. So I could go back to the crosswords, do that. So when he brings their paper, you pick it, start reading, then he questions you, umesoma nini kwa hiyo gazeti? Then you start asking, telling him, no, he actually is the one who taught me to read the newspaper. He told me, if you want to read the newspaper, it's rare for you to do the entire paper. So go to the headlines. What will interest you is what you'll read. You don't read everything. And to improve your grammar, keep filling these passwords and crosswords. So
wow,
it was a good.
What a beautiful journey. Okay, Nathan, how was your experience? How did you end up being a journalist?
In our family or clan in general, where I come from, already we have currently around 10 journalists within the clan, both working for local and national media. But basically, Kwendo Opanga, who is my uncle, was my role model right away from class 5 there, coming up. And then after Form 4, Johnson Mwakazi had just joined Citizen TV. So I wanted to be like Johnson Mwakazi, and at the same time I want to do exemplary work more than what Kwendo Opanga had already done. Back in high school, English literature, Kiswahili was my thing, and I even had, in Form 3, I had written a set book together with my principal, Mr. Henry Ndimuli Okusi. I had also done a novel, but after Form 4, we didn't go far because of publication money required to publish the 2 set books, and that's how it ended there. But it is a passion, I can say, started long way back in primary school. During school ball games, I could be there doing commentary na microphone ya karatasi. And it was fun. So, and then there was this guy called Jacobo Sylvester. He was in KBC then. And another guy who is this Omuga Kabisai. So those are the people we were trying to say, I want to be like them. I want to emulate them. That's how it started. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, what kind of stories do you feel most like you feel like this is the stories that I really want to undertake, or you connect passionately with?
Human interest stories, basically. And I love investigative reporting, but based on human interest stories, that is where I am. And health stories is my space. I have done a lot in that space. I'm still in that space, and I'll still be there.
Wow. Yes. What about you?
Courts, crimes, and investigations, they move me. I really love those kind of stories. And also, I love comic bits. That's why I was a good writer, or rather I was a regular writer for the Crazy Monday. Then later on I was a sub-editor for that publication, because I also believe the light side of journalism is hardly featured, and that's a thing I love to do.
Oh my God, like crime, like I least expected that. Like
Yes,
crime. Why
crime.
crime? Why crime?
Crime actually move because crime sells. If you keen in a especially the mainstream media, you realize that you'll never miss a story of, you know, man, woman commits suicide, man kills, woman kills. They are there because they are emotional. And you see, to reach this audience, so we have you dealing with a very elusive audience, and to reach them, you also have to be, you know, a little bit, you know, sort of shrewd to get them. So these emotion appealing stories, like I say, those for crimes are so emotive, and if you do them, you'll get readership, because bottom line is that we in the media, to get actually need to get readership, to get viewership, to get those you know, people touch topics that you know, people will identify with quickly.
I know you've been in the media space. You said you've been here for how many years again?
For over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Yes.
Nathan?
10 years.
10 years.
Plus.
So do you guys remember your very, very first assignment? And how was it like?
Yes, it was very funny. Then for the viewers, the host was my classmate, my desk mate. So we have so we have come far. Now, I was in Kisumu, Kenya News Agency, for my attachment, and then there was an expo at Kisumu Showground. So we went there. We saw nice stories to work on, and then there is this particular story. There's a guy doing energy saving stoves, GCOS. So I go there, I write the story, and at the end there I include his postal address, his phone number, his email address. And now I submit the story. There is this lady, she's now in the States, Susan Amalemba was then the deputy PIO. We had not gone to counties. And then she calls me, Nathan, come here. Then I find she's like, which college are you? What is this? And then the current Kakamega County Information Officer, Mr. Kaiga, was the PIO then. Then Kaiga walks in. He just looked at the script and laughed. And then, but Susan was like a mother. She pulls me aside and now takes me through everything. This is how you do an intro. This is how you write it. Now, but for these contacts, that are for your own concern. If you want to confirm something later, you can go to them, but you don't include them in the story. Now, and then she announced to the rest of the team, to the entire team, you cannot write a story and put here postal address. It was embarrassing, but a good learning process, because from there, after my attachment, I think they really shaped my writing skills, and by the time we were leaving college, I think I was now ready for the market. Yes.
How was the experience? I mean, what was your first assignment and how was it?
Well, interesting. I started doing briefs for these newspapers, especially the Standard, while I was still in campus. And for some reason, I learned the game while still at campus, and I didn't get much difficulties adjusting. But one thing, they dropped me into the deep sea, the deep end. Once I was assigned a story to go to the courts, to go cover courts. They just told me, yes, we have a person who is doing agriculture, we have a person who is covering the county, we have a person doing ABC, all these bits. So go to the court bit. One, I was not very sure where the courts were. Getting to courts, I was not sure how to call the adjudicator. You know, in the courts, those who take care of courts say that the magistrate or a judge. I couldn't differentiate between a magistrate and a judge, and that was quite troubling because I could come back to the newsroom with the story and say, well, justice so and so, yet this is a magistrate. Yeah, I could come and say magistrate so and so, yet this is a judge.
Yeah.
It took quite a time to note that, because such errors could, for some reason, sneak into the copy. But going back to the courts, taking the story to some of the, those involved, taking it to maybe lawyers who are involved in the case. You see the story, representing a client, there's a story. The lawyers could tell me, but this is not a magistrate, this is a judge. Then I started asking, so what is the difference between a magistrate and a judge? So they took me through the process. They told me there's the lower court and the higher court. The lower court constitutes of magistrate, then the high court constitutes of judges. And also all these, also magistrates, not all of them are resident, because the next thing was that I was calling everybody a resident.
Resident magistrate.
Resident magistrates, chief magistrates, principal magistrate, and all that. So they took me through, told me, you're learning, but with time, you not even need reference. So this is a chief magistrate. This is a principal magistrate. Ngondo is a principal magistrate. Sijui nani, this is a chief magistrate. So from there, I learned the threads, and one thing that really carried almost a bit to be very keen when doing, especially those court and the crime stories, that I had a passion to do. One thing that made me also love to be a crimes reporter and courts reporter is that I come from a family of uniformed men. From all my grandfathers were police officers. My father was a KDF guy. Personally, if I was not a journalist, I could be a KDF guy. In fact, I did go for those so many recruitments, but it was just unfortunate. I never journalism. The call for journalism was so heavy, and I ended up being a journalist. So I love crimes, I love courts, and I love telling stories that I feel will make people laugh.
Yeah, but most of the time we've seen people either in colleges or universities, or even like they have already graduated, but they feel like this is not the job that I wanted. Did you at some point regret being a journalist, or there is this specific time you felt like I am where I am supposed to be, this is my dream job? Or sometimes you feel like I want to quit, this is not my thing.
Yes. One thing. And I remember in this experience, I was with a lady, I think she's not mention her name, but she's currently with the Citizen TV. Our first pay, I think, was 2,500. Hey, she asked me, my house girl, I pay my house girl 3,500. I'm paid 2,500. What is this? My house girl earns better than I do. So we thought working for this, legacy media means a lot and also pays a lot. Personally, there's a job. I was to go to Family Bank. I don't want to be a teller or something. I told my dad, no, I not do this. I love journalism. Let me go do journalism. For the first time, I regretted that decision. I said, I think that 2,800 or something. I said, what is this? 2,800? And I was in a one-room house then, paying around 3,000 or something.
Oh no!
Self-confused.
Yeah.
So like your rent is 3,000.
My rent is 3,000.
And you're being paid 2,800. Oh my goodness!
Last month. These things came. Barua Family Bank is here. Then yes, the Standard is here. I said, wow, the Standard. Then here I'm earning 2,800. Then we had a very good.
But those were those years.
Those years, that was
right
about 2013, 2014 there. So this boss.
So was 2,000 salary or pastor?
It was actually I go to the Standard as a correspondent or stringer are paid per
History.
amount of stories you've done. So you yet to learn the ropes. You're not that quick to do stories. You're not that sharp to go to know what will go to print. What will you still learn.
So but but again, you're paid for the stories that are published.
You've paid for the stories,
not the ones you've submitted.
Not the ones that you submitted. Published stories. So before your name is even done, even before, if you come to the newsroom, then you submit a story, be assured that your boss will first of all look at the stories of those seasoned guys before coming to the story of the newbie. So being a newbie, the trouble that you face, then as a newbie, I get this money, I call back home, I call my sister, my brother, I tell you, hey, mnichangie rent. It was the end of the amyo sana sumeandikwa job nini mbaya, tell you nichangie rent, and to explain the rest. So eventually you learn the ropes. By next month you're doing 5,000. Before the coming month you're doing 10. The other you're doing 20. Then you're in 30. Then
so umeshika
sasa. But if you're not keen, most of the guys were walking away. Yeah, you get pay. Some are even getting 1,000. Just 2 stories.
Just discouraged and you move on.
So discouraging. So they quit. And there is where those who are not, created for this job leave. And I've seen many leave. Not one, not two, not till recently.
A lot of people. Nathan, what about you?
Yes, on many occasions. First, after leaving college, when we graduated, we are graduating. Then after 1 month, I'm hearing via Amalemba FM reporting in Mumias. After a while, I'm seeing my colleagues in different media outlets. Then I'm like, what's not happening? In fact, I went to Nairobi. I was trying to secure a place with KBC Radio Taifa. So someone was hosting me. Then after a week, your job I quit. Then was like, I think I should help you to go back home. I think I should give you transport to go back home, because you said you are coming to work, but you just stay in the house as I go to work. You see, while watu wanapiga hustle in Nairobi, we are living in industrial area, nyumba ya mabati. So what is happening kwa jirani unasikia? So it was funny, and then I told myself, no, hata ukinipatia transport, I will not go home. So I walked to, Jogo House, Kenya headquarters, and told them, men, I finished college, I want internship. They told me, we don't have any space in Nairobi, but we have a space in Bungoma and Busia, but it is unpaid. So I told myself, no, let me go to Bungoma. Though I don't know anybody there. So I called my mom and he talked to someone there. Nikaenda huko. So I'm there. You are going to the field with a GK vehicle. Ukifika mahali you command respect. But when you go home, unaenda kunywa chai na ulale kama sapa. You don't have money. But tomorrow, and to make matters, where I was staying, chini, our driver was staying a few meters away. So he could pick me in the morning, we go to work, and in the evening, we come back with him. So my neighbors thought, mimi ni mudos. And then at the end of the month, I'm struggling to pay just 2,500 shillings as rent. Then they're like, but unabebwa kwa gari hapa kila siku. Where do you, yes, ya serikali. Where do you take your money? So you are like, who's visiting? But I told myself, no, I will continue pushing. There is a guy in Bungoma, I'll not mention his name. He retired last month. He was working for the Ministry of Agriculture. He was heading a program there, donor funded. And then he used to tell me, anytime he has an event, almost after every 2 weeks or in weekly, Nathan, twende nipigie picha. So ukienda hapo ukipiga picha ukishawaletea za kutumia, jamaa anakupatia per diem kwa scale ya staff wake wanapata, unaona. So and then he says, can you do a documentary? I know I cannot do a documentary. So I say, yes, I will call my friend to do a documentary. How much? Ananiambia, and then nakuja nampelekea budget. So akishanipatia hiyo kazi, and then na subcontract. So huyu jamaa anafanya kazi, but at the end of the day all the credits ataniekea. So namlipa and then narudisha. So ikakuwa hivyo. Then after 2 years, in my second year, it is when my breakthrough started coming in. I could do features, and then they are picked by mainstream media, which again put me in trouble with seasoned journalists in Bungoma. There was an incident at Bungoma prisons, December 22, 2014, where I had done a feature on cancer, and 2 mainstream papers, The Star and the People Daily, had picked that story, and the byline was mine stroke Kenny. We were in the same event with them, the reporters. Their stories were not picked. Mine was picked 2 pages, 2 pages. Ile slap nilikula from one of them. Mbono natuharibia kazi. Ingine katoka huku. Yes. Mbono natuharibia kazi. Then Bungoma deputy governor saw the incident and he came to my rescue. And he told them, you need to embrace them. You need to embrace them. I reported the matter to my then boss, is now deceased. But she told me, continue pushing. Something good will happen. And then in between, I got a casual contract with the Kenya News Agency. My first job, I was a cameraman for Kenya News Agency, KBC. We worked for 9 months without pay. When we complained, because we were supposed to be paid 15,000, you have provided your bank statements, your M-Pesa. But when they want to pay you, you travel all the way to Bungoma, from Bungoma to Nairobi, to be given 15,000 shillings, and then they deduct tax, and then unarudi. So by the time natoka Nairobi kurudi Bungoma, ile 15,000 nimekupatia uko na maybe 8,000. Naona. So you only paid for 4 months, and then these other 5 months zikapotea hivyo. But that is where I got my good experience.
Wow. So maybe just like a minute or so, like everybody, if you can tell us what was the impactful story you've ever done that you literally remember and say like this Indo ile story.
Well, I've done several, but there's a piece I did in Navajo while I was still in covering Kakamega. I did a piece on lost and found fella. This Jama disappeared in 1987, 88. And this story was published in 2015. And for some reason, the photo of this guy, to get even the photo of this guy was troublesome. We got a very sketchy photo of him because 1988, this matter of photography had not gone that far. So this piece was read, and for some reason, a guy read the story, a lady rather, then connected the piece to a man staying somewhere. It was in the central area. Then he called back. Then this guy returned home in Navajo. One thing, they had believed this guy was dead. They had done those
the rituals, wamezika mgomba wa ndizi.
Familia zimekosana, ati sijui hawa waliroga hawa, ndio jamaa kapotea and all that, but this guy was found. Then another one in Bungoma, still lost and found. We had this magazine called Wednesday Life, and it had this bit of lost and found in Bungoma. I think is in a Sirisia constituency. I did a piece on a guy who disappeared for 8 years, left the family. Then while I was doing the piece, speaking to the mother, speaking to the brothers, there was like a kid who was there, very keen, around, was it around 12 or so years? Then I asked, hey, na huyu mtoto ni nani huyu? Akasema sasa huyu baba yake ndo mwenye alipotea 8 years old. Alikuwa katoto kadogo, kalikuwa sijui kako na miaka, ilikuwa ni 2 ama sijui ilikuwa ni miaka ngapi. Ndio sasa amekuwa hapa Na last year mtoto alitaka kutairi, akakataa hizi tairi mpaka aone baba yake. It really touched me. Sema wacha tujaribu tufanye hii story. While still there, wacha tujaribu tufanye hii story. Tumefanya story, watu wamekuwa wakipatikana, but those who are being found, wale mtu amepotea 1-2 years anapatikana haraka because it's easy to trace and tie knots, loose ends na mpate. Then I did the piece. This guy was in Kilimambogo. The HR alikuwa employed in some pineapple farm or doing it. The HR guy, the HR fella saw the story. Akamwambia bana, wewe umetoroka nyumbani. He gave him fare, called the newsroom standard. They told me, hey, kuna story umefanya hapa about this jamaa nini. Got a response. Tumepata huyu mtu na HR wake amempatia fare, anarudi na amemweka kwa basi. So the guy comes back, nikarudi kufanya backup story after amerudi. So ngabe, is it you? Wamekurudisha. Nikamwambia, what was making you umekwamia huko Kilimambogo? At every now ati nilikuwa napata pesa, ati nikifika stage narudi. Eventually I realized it was just a lie. The guy alikuwa amewekwa huko with some mama and all that. Those are some of the impactful stories that I did, and I remember this kid. This kid now came and say, hey, kaambia, what we just spoke with the kid, the young kid, ile baba paka sasa ndio huyu baba, next season tukija kutairi after 2 years, sasa si atakuwa hapa, atakuwa. The kid was so happy. That story touched me. They gave me a chicken.
Oh,
the mother gave me a chicken. And I think, that is more than the best award in journalism.
Exactly. Because that was very genuine.
That was very genuine, and I felt the cowboy, because when I was taking notes, ako tu na mimi anaangalia hata notebook what I'm doing. Then was, huyu ni nani? Then I said, huyu ndo baba yake amepotea. So I did it. I think it was there.
The kid was very eager, like I really wanted that.
And I told her, took it, up in town in Kakamega town I was staying. Sikuwa na chicken. Kasema, I'll also not eat this chicken. It's so precious to me. What I'll do, I'll take it home. Nikaenda nyumbani. Then I took it home. Then I told my parents, musikule hii kuku. Then they asked me kwa nini. Kasema, hebu echenyi hii kuku. What are you saying? Kasema, unajua hii story nilifanya baba mtoto ndo sasa nienda kwa hiyo bomo akanipatia hii kuku. I think those are some of the stories I've done, and I also very many of them of these kids wenye wanashindwa kwenda shuleni after perform. Those are so many. They're getting sponsorship. One actually got sponsorship from Mudi Awori. She was going to be a house girl. She was in fact she had found a place where she could carry out that that job. They told me, hey, kuna msichana hapa alipata sijui 300 and what anataka ameanza house girl. I did the piece. Mudi Awori called and said, okay, give me the girl. Kupeleka inaitwa Kericho Girls or somewhere. She's eventually scored a B+. And she's somewhere.
Basically, I know 10 years, you need to have had a whole lot of interesting and impactful stories. What about you, Nathan? Which one is this main story that you feel like, hata nikifunga sahi virago kwenda?
It was a story in education. I had just joined Standard Group. I joined around in April 2017. And then come January 2018, there was this girl who walked from Nambale to Butere Girls. And alicollapse tu hapo kwa gate. So the principal picks the girl, akampatia uniform, akampatia chakula, akaoga, akampeleka class. Then ndio tukaitwa. Hakuwa na school fees at all. But we received some inside story that one of the uncles wanted her to get married. She had scored 396 marks in KCPE. And she came to the school barefoot with her school uniform, Ile primary. So we went there. I did that story as usual. I didn't know it will be a big thing. So the girl said, when I grow up, I want to be like Justice Philomena Mwilu. She's my role model. I want to be a judge. So I just include that statement in the story only. The story was published. In the morning at 6:45 a.m., I receive a call. And the lady says, I'm the PA to Justice Philomena Mwilu. Give us the school account. We are paying school fees for the first 1 year.
Wow.
53,500. Wow. So Justice Mwilu paid the first the school fees for the entire year. It did not stop there. By around 12 p.m. that day, Kenyans had already contributed around 200,000 to go towards the school fees for that particular girl. There is a Muhindi in Bungoma with a bookshop, did shopping, shoes, uniform, books, textbooks, and everything they took to that girl in Butere. The Law Society of Kenya, Western Region, led by Justice Boaz Olao, he was then in Bungoma. They brought together their lawyers, their colleagues in the legal fraternity, and they did some serious shopping for that girl and added more money to her education kitty. So for 4 years, the school fees for that girl was catered for. And then the extra coins, the principal went and opened a retail shop for the mother, so that when the schools have closed, the girl can go home, there is money, atapata pocket money and everything. The girl didn't disappoint. She's finalizing education, maths, chemistry, Chuka University. She'll be graduating this year, though she didn't do law because marks ilikuwa kidogo. But when I talked to her somewhere last year, she told me I'll do another degree in law in the near future. So she'll be a teacher. She'll be graduating this year, chemistry, maths teacher. The same time, after people saw that story, many people came to Standard seeking help. There is another one from Ikolomani, wanted to sell his kidney. He had scored 405 marks. The father died some years back. So the elder sister and a brother were already in the university. The mother's a primary school teacher. Na loan alikuwa ashachukua mpaka haezi chukua any other loan. So the kid wanted to sell the kidney. But as usual, Kenyans came in. He was admitted at Kapsabet Boys. Currently now at the University of Nairobi, 3rd year. And I also admitted, through such stories, the same month, I admitted 2 boys, Bungoma High School, one St. Peter's Mumias, and another one at Bokoli Boys. For the 2 Bungoma High School, somebody I don't know, a lady just called and told me, Nathan, how are you? Those 2 boys, I want you to take them to school tomorrow. Here's the money. The only thing you'll do for me, after shopping, nipige tu picha ya hizo receipts na unitumie. So I did that. I went and admitted the boys. Tukapiga picha na nini nikamtumia. The lady came, tukakamega late after a month. Kuniambia, you did a good thing. The boys scored A. Bungoma High School. Some after Form 4. I don't know where they are, but the others I can track where they are. So those were my good moments. As a journalist, I can say, this one, I did it for my profession and I helped. There is impact. You can attach to it.
Throughout these 10 years, have you ever maybe felt unsafe or maybe in danger when you're carrying out your duties as a journalist? Maybe start with the Amalemba.
One thing, it's very hard. I don't know what you'll do to scare me, because I believe truth. I've remained very, very much truthful, and I believe truth If you do truth, you'll not fear anything. I think it was just the other day I stopped some jokers in town. I called sijui waganga, this bullshit that you see people carry, waganga watu wamekuwa kifanya ngono wamekwamiana. They expect a journalist who's gone for training to do such kind of a bullshit. Sorry. So
we have those who do that.
I mean, that's a problem, but you see, that's not truth. That's why I tell you, truth. If you go for truth, no one will stop you. See, if you write truth, they'll call you to scare you, to do what? They'll backbite you, but they cannot face you. Truth. And this is what I just love to tell even upcoming scribes. Just do truth.
Yeah.
You not have anything to fear. If a journalist tells you that, oh, anaogopa anafanya nini, is either he's not very truthful in his dealings or his compromise.
Whatever he's reporting is not factual or compromised.
But essentially, I don't think I've faced any threat, because if I face a threat for being truthful, then that's...
So wait, let's go back to that story that you were saying. What do you mean? Like, okay, did somebody threaten you to do that story?
No, I'll just start with that kind of stories. And I remember once I was when I was in Nairobi, now manning a desk, I used to get such kind of stories.
You just dismiss them.
Ati mtu amepatikana sijui akiiba, nyuki imemshika, ati nini. I could call the writer who did so and tell him, please never ever do that kind of bullshit and bring it to me and submit it. I can never run it. I remember at that time I called the writer and I just instructed him, if you want me to publish these stories, done such kind of a foolish story that, kuna watu walikuwa nafanya ngono ameshikwa, ati mpaka wamepelekwa polisi. I told him, now go do this story. Since you have time to waste and your time should be put in proper use, go do this story. That these guys are in fact colluding with authorities to do these things majorly for marketing purposes. If anything, if we are to entertain such kind of stories as a media houses, then we'll also lose advertising. Because if they do want to advertise as waganga, medicine men and all that, they can always come and we give them our rates, give them the red card, tell them this is the much
you need to pay.
But you see, they are using some very funny ways to come and deny you as a journalist money to run the newsroom by doing this trickery and this mockery of people's intelligence, and want to call it and the journalist wants to call that journalism. Some even tell you that these are scoops, what. Just tell them right away this is
you dismiss it. Actually, I can say, Amalemba, that you're one in many of the journalists who feel like they have never been unsafe. A lot of them, actually, they always say they're always in danger when they're carrying out their duties. Nathan, do you have any experience? Like, have you ever felt unsafe?
On many occasions. Very many occasions. When I joined Standard, I realized when I came, everybody had a niche. So I was like, where will I fit? Because you see a story, you want to pursue it, you are told, no, this person is handling. You pick this one is handling. Then I was like, so how will I establish myself? What will be my signature tune here? So I decided to venture into investigative reporting. And that is how I made a name very fast. Two stories. One, I wrote a story about 42 brothers in Butere. How they were maiming people, raping women, killing people. But funny, they don't steal anything. So I came, without mentioning names, there was a senior police officer came and I told him, I've been in Butere, I've been pursuing this story. These are my findings. What is yours? I'm coming here for right of reply. You give me what police are doing over this issue and how we can contain this issue. He blankly told me that that those are rumors. There is nothing in Butere. You stop peddling lies. And you see, for a journalist, that is a statement. That's a statement in itself. He has responded. And then he dismissed me, and then I went away because I had literally walked to families that have been killed. I was to hospitals of people who have been maimed. We have taken their pictures, their graves, talked to their families. I splashed that story the following day. Jamaa alianza kunitafuta na bunduki kwa bag. All over. Here and there. Kusema nilimharibia jina.
So like, what did you do? Like, did you go into asylum? Did you hide somewhere, or what happened?
In fact, I knew that thing after a month that he was looking for me in all drinking joints. But you see, I don't drink alcohol. I don't. You'll never find me in these entertainment joints. In the evening, I go home very early. So that is how I escaped him. But he was transferred immediately and demoted to a deputy county police commander. He was a county police commander then. Cut us off that story. Another story that made me not to step at home in my village for 8 months was in Luanda, drug peddling. So you find a university student, college students were being used to peddle drugs, to inject themselves with drugs. Na wakikosana na wale wadosi wao, some of them wanawaua. So I did a 3-month investigations and did a series of it. When the first series was out, 18 lawsuits had been filed. Defamation suits had been filed.
18?
Yes, had been filed.
Against you?
Yes, and the standard. 18. By 12 p.m. that day, tulikuwa na 18 demand letters. The following day, they had moved to different courts. They're saying, that description ni kama ni yangu. Your description, you are describing me. Those are the allegations and stuff. But you see, I had evidence as usual. So, as usual, I attached my evidence, took to the legal team, and when their lawyers saw my evidence, that is how those cases were withdrawn one by one. But the threats remained. At one point, I found myself interviewing in the same room with one of the perpetrators 1 month later, unknowingly. Na akasema, oh, wewe ndio Nathan uliniharibia jina. But a colleague said, si huyu, ni mwingine. Huyo Nathan huyo alipelekwa Nairobi. Who was a friend to him, mwenye alikuwa amenilikia hiyo story. Kumwambia, huyo si huyo alipelekwa Nairobi. That's why I survived. So for 8 months, sikanyaga nyumbani. And even within ourselves, journalists, there are some who can be used to do wrong things to their fellow colleagues. There is a story I did here, and a fellow journalist just attacked him and said, unatuharibia mali tunakulia. Stop that. Yes. Instead of protecting me, he attacked me. But I told him, no, I was never taught to fight my seniors, so I'll not fight you. Please, pardon me, I'll not fight you. And you see, you are being attacked at a public place in someone's office. Na watu wamechukua simu anataka kurekodi waone reaction yako. That means, if you react, the next minute, ziko all over social media. What is the ripple effect? Umeharibia kampuni jina. The other ripple effect, home. That is my experience, yes.
Okay, this question I really want to ask us, because personally as a journalist, it is also something that is actually also affecting us. How do you prepare yourself mentally, emotionally in covering sensitive stories? Because it's never been, and this is one of the things that I've been asking my fellow journalists, that we don't have a department, and we actually don't even take time to go for maybe counseling, mental wellness issues and all that. Like, how do you prepare yourself mentally before you go cover sensitive stories? Now that you're talking about the 42 brothers, you're meeting people, you're seeing bodies and all that.
I forgot something, maybe before I answer you, on 42 brothers. After running 3 series, around 11:49 p.m., I do a 10-minute call to a colleague in Butere. Tunapanga, tomorrow we'll visit this home, this home, this home. A fellow journalist. So that we finish up our story. That call was dubbed by DCI. And so after the call, a friend of him, who was a DCI, just sends him the audio and tells him, abandon that mission, risky. Akaniforwardia exactly what we discussed. They had dubbed the recording, everything.
So like your phone was tapped?
Yes, my phone was tapped. Everything, whatever we discussed, everything. But he was warned, abandon that mission. Mungekuja mtaumia. That is how he abandoned it. Because after 5 minutes na akamutumia. But when you receive such things, it takes toll on the mental health. Because one, you don't have someone to talk to. Even you'll find most media houses, they don't have counselors who you can talk to. They even don't have a safe space they can take you for a while, because you are relevant by your last byline. So you'll not tell your boss that, you know, I'm not okay, I'm mentally not okay because of this story. Your boss will want a docket for the following day. And if you don't deliver, that will be insubordination. So you'll find you are working under pressure. Nobody's taking care of your mental health. And that's how you have seen many of our colleagues becoming drug addicts, alcoholics. But something needs to be done about it, because we have lost many because of that. So how do I care? How do I take care of my mental health? I've allowed God to take care of my mental health. The church where I worship, when I'm not okay, I'll just go there, talk to my pastor, just be in the church worship, just listen to the preachings. At the end of the day, unafeel poa, narudi nyumbani satisfied.
Amalemba, how do you prepare yourself on this, and how do you deal with these, especially mental issues?
Mental issues, that mental issue thing is a little bit debatable, because there's a time the mainstream media, legacy media in Nairobi, which I not mentioned, there's a time they dispatched journalists to go into Turkana to cover some bandits doing any news bandit story, you know, bullets, gun, murders, whatnot. Then when they returned, the HR does some budgets. These are team, kindly take care of them in the mental blah blah blah. Then for some reason they picked a correspondent from Turkana alongside this Nairobi team. Then the correspondent has, this correspondent has stringers, they are based in the,
in the counties.
In the counties, boots on the ground, always there. So they tell him, ati mtapelekwa kwa hospitali, there's something called mental, counseling, mtakansoliwa. The guy told them off, ini ujinga, I've been here, kiskezi gun all through.
Since I was born.
Taken.
Is it he was born from that area, or he was taken there?
From that area. It is that because we have Nairobi journalists that you offering this, extending this kind of thing to me. I'll not go for that. Nipatie pesa hata nipande basi rudi Turkana. So I asked myself, huyu jamaa huwa anapitia mental health ama apitia ama is it that mental health is, if you keen realize that hivi tumeanza kuja juzi kina Joe Dindo, one of the celebrated, kina Galava, one of the very best journalists up around. There are days we never heard of these things, mental health, So why now watu wameanza journalist for some reason, hata ukienda tu huko nje unasikia some, it's just a trend yenye imeanza kuja, mental health. But I think self discipline, if you just a self discipline there
how do you discipline yourself when you come to mental issues?
You know, if you're self disciplined, you wake up in the morning, you do some exercise, you eat well, you sleep well, you do everything well. That's now self-discipline. The things that, you know, guys call Americ's names for. Just running, jogging, getting a cold shower. You know, if you do those things, I don't think you'll have a mental breakdown. The thing with the journalists is that, I'm one of them, the thing is journalists that the industry itself, the task itself gives you some very, hauna siku ya kupumzika. Guys expects you, you know, is your off day. Guys call you at, hey, unajua leo ni jamaa yako amekuja. Now a guy who picks your calls, say maybe Msalia picks my calls, they tell me, unajua ni jamaa yako bana anakuja kesho kwa hiyo event, na wewe ndio ulikuwa umeongea na wewe ndio ulikuwa umefanya story yake last week, the other month. Endo upige follow up. They don't give you this. That's the off day. Pata job unatoka. You just back to your family. Ndio umeanza kula, hey, Amalemba, wewe ndio unaishi karibu na barabara. Ati there is a truck imeanguka somewhere, kindly. Tunajua ni usiku lakini toka uende. People don't want to give you time to rest. And if you don't demand for this time to rest, time to be human, you know, you'll break down. So, comes back to the bit of self-discipline. If you're self-disciplined, if you're given such kind of calls, just tell your boss, hey, guy, it's my off day. You wake up early in the morning.
But you know, like, you're lucky because you have off days. Some journalists don't.
Yeah, and
literally they don't.
Most of them actually realize that they are what we call largely freelance or correspondence.
Yeah.
Do you know they enslave themselves unknowingly? And people will never tell you that, yeah, hey, you're enslaving yourself. They let you burn out. They'll underpay you, let you burn out, then come for your burial. Contribute something, say, oh, he was for us. Give you an obituary space, like if say you're working for a newspaper and wake up, oh, he's a guy. But you see, they broke you down.
If you're a broadcast, they give you 2 minutes or 1 minute.
So you lie to yourself.
And when you fall sick, they will get rid of you very fast.
They'll get rid of you very fast. In fact, they say you are not our employee. That's why you're not even given a medical cover. They underpay you. Remember, they underpay you. That's why you always want to be out on a daily basis. Utafuta a story so that, you know, you feel that if you stay home for a day, then you've missed a lot.
You missed, yeah.
Because that could be the day that you make that big story that will give you that big check. So you have to be very much self-disciplined, and that's what really counts. Because this thing of
but when you're talking about self-discipline, Amalemba, I think it's fine. You can do all that, but again, you know, like you're frontline officer, I may say. You're always on the ground, like you're there when the accidents are happening. You are there seeing those gory images and all that. During the protest, you will, you know, feel someone shooting and all that, and you are there with your cameras and all that covering the story. I mean, as much as you're talking about self-discipline, you know, exercising and all that, I think there is need for counseling.
Counseling, you can, I mean, it starts with you, but like personally, I don't believe, and I could be wrong or right, but I think I'm right. I don't believe that, I mean, I can come here and you counsel me on anything that I think I'm just self-made. What I'll do to actually bring myself, to reset myself, probably, is listen to music. Touching music, or read a book, largely read the scripture. I love it. I read the scripture daily so that, I mean, it helps.
I know you guys are scribes, and I know I might be taking much of your time. I don't know how many minutes are you giving me today, before we call it a day, because I know you're busy people. Yeah,
maybe we stop at this point because it's 9.
You no, please give me some more minutes, please.
Okay, maybe 30 or so, because I
30.
Maybe if I can add on something.
Yes.
on the mental issues story. I was among the first reporters to reach to Kakamega Primary School when there was the stampede. A colleague had told me, go there, I've told the watoto wameanguka, go check on my child. But on reaching there, I found ambulances, blah, 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 running here and there. Then an hour later, we walked into the Kakamega funeral morgue. I saw 13 kids lying on the ground. Nazafikiria wamelala, kumbe wamesha kufa. Na nikakaa hapo up to around 12 a.m. I delivered that story. It was among the front page stories and stuff. But that image kept on reoccurring in my mind for almost 8 months. It was really bad for me. You are sleeping and that picture comes. You are sleeping and that picture comes. Again, Fort 10 and families. You remember the accident? Yes. I interviewed the families. There's a family had lost around 5 family members here in Shikoti. So again, hii Kakamega Primary kikuja leo, after 2 days unaona this other family is crying. It just took toll of me. Yes, until I had to go somewhere and talk to someone. Yes.
So it's important. It's important really to have someone to talk to.
In such a scenario, you must talk to somebody.
I don't believe because I don't believe because there's a time we are going to cover an agriculture story. Then hapo Amalemba ukiteremka Shirere hapo chini there's this Kakariva. Inaitwa nini this Kakariva? Isihu.
Yes.
Just there with Benjamin Sakwa, the celebrated photojournalist. Just there, we're on a motorbike. Just there, an accident occurs. Just there, in
front of you guys.
In front of us, that consumed 8. In fact, initially, because of the kind of watu wanatolewa na lala hapo, people were counting. Ni kama 16 wamekufa manini. I was not troubled because one thing I love and admire so much about this career of journalism is not a career of cowards. Number 2 is a career of where one day is not the same as the other. It's not like a teacher utaenda leo kwa darasa unafunza English, grammar has never changed, never changed. So if you wake up knowing that this day is not going to be the same as yesterday, this event is not going to this event I'm going to cover not the same as the one I covered yesterday, then I don't think this will really much cut you down or break you down. I personally don't feel.
But the way we receive, the way call it shock absorbers, the way we absorb shock, or the way we receive different news is different. So you may pretend to be strong.
No, it's not.
No. One day it will explode. It is just piling.
It's not pretending to be strong. You either strong or you not.
It's piling right now. I'm telling you. One day, one time, you really need someone to talk to.
No, I mean.
So let me tell you. There is a time you can just feel I need to cry. Yeah. Just shed those tears a little bit.
No, I mean, I can't remember when I last shed tears.
And you can be in a situation that staki vaya aone, staki fulana. So you just go and hide somewhere. Si ati unalia toxic, just hide somewhere and shed tears. And after that you will feel relieved. Yes.
So Amalemba anasema hiyo haileti shangwe kwake.
Out of that cocoon.
No, it's not that easy. I mean that cocoon. Maybe probably emotions. No. Maybe it's you is in that cocoon. This guy is that day generation of guys. I need to be cancelled. I mean I'm emotion at I need you to be. I mean to be talked to by who? You can't just have your own talk, call yourself to a meeting and say this was bullshit.
But you're not a specialist. We need people to talk to you. We have specialists who need to do
these
that.
Guys are also there. This guy are also in business. These guys are also in business. And this business, remember, is just a business in Aza Juicy. Initially, it was not there.
So it means at your mental issues.
The guys who these students who are in these revolutionary kind of bits in the 80s and all those, these kids were in a troubled situation with Moi and his chief and provincial administrator were always on them. Wanawatafuta, wanakuanda, they arrest you, youth for Kano. These guys never told us Kinorengo I broke down, so I went to a place, a corner, to shed tears. That's that kind of bullshit. You're a journalist. You've not been arrested by youth for Kano. Unaenda kukaa mahali ati wakucancel. I mean,
you never know what these people go through, because they have not just come out to share.
No, yeah, exactly, and that is exactly what I'm saying. Like, you have not had a sit down with Orengo and say, hey, how did you manage this?
But I can't relate.
To date, he's still that hero. I mean, there's a time we go cover him. Nathan has just said right now, like there are those moments that you just want to be alone, and like if it is crying, you just cry, or probably just talk to someone. So you are not very sure if actually they did sit down and
but we can't blame him. His father is a uniformed.
No, I mean,
even uniform doctors go through a lot.
So I think it is that background that is pretending to have.
Not that pretending. If but I've never broken down over as not that not being human. If we get there, then we find something nasty. Someone just killed my cow. I mean.
It's normal to you?
That thing is just an occurrence. It's just a news. It's just a news. You are a good dairy cow. Wait, but it gives you 10. I know. From where we sit, you know that news is made. One element of making news, we being the newsmakers, is that element of emotions. I make you feel emotive. For reporting, especially these things that you're saying at mtu amekufa nini, which are very common and they are really carrying, guys. And you see, remember also, we are losing audience because of that kind of thing. Because people believe it can't be atini hiyo tu vitu mbaya. It's an old thing that is dying. That is what we call calmarizing emotions, doing what emotion. That emotional kind of thing is a business that I feel should not be commercialized and we should not encourage.
That is why the trend is shifting. That guys are advocating, if we do, it can be an emotive story, but again we do now what we call solution journalism, where we raise a problem, but we bring a solution and back it up with data. Yeah, you can make an emotive story to be positive.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask, like, yes. Amalemba, I know you say that hizo vitu bana you never cry babies, watu are soft, no tunataka counseling, but again we have data. In the country, we're talking about 1 in 4 people in the country, that is Kenya, they have mental illnesses in one way or another, depending on whichever. So if 1 in 4 and we have data to back that, why would you dismiss that? But again, my feeling is that if at all they have to check this, particularly a survey for journalists, I think it will be like higher, not just 1 in 4. It could be 2 or 3 in 4, because we are always there, the frontliners, to do this and that and that. But again, 1 in 4, then that means about 15 million Kenyans. They have mental illnesses. Don't you think that it is something that we need to worry about, and do we really need to ensure that something is done?
I think what we have to worry about, and I love this Eric Mukole doctor very much. People call him at times, he misled us, achana huyo, nini alarmist and all that. But you see, it tells you just be self-disciplined. I mean, what is so hard in being self-disciplined? What is so hard in dedicating maybe 30 or 1 hour just doing exercise? What is so hard in eating clean food, drinking water? What is so hard in spending time with your family, having time with family, talking to them, doing what? What is so hard in that? What is so hard, in leaving office, knowing that hawezi maliza kazi, kazi ishangi. Kuna msemo in the juakali sector yanasema kazi ishi. You leave, then unarudi kesho unapata kazi inaendelea. What is so hard in giving yourself, an off? unang'ang'ana ukue filled throughout January to January. Hiyo machine, hata ukichukua machine yako kila siku tu, hata gari ukimbie nayo kila siku, I mean it will break down. That's similar to a human being. Give yourself whatever time to rest and all this. If your mental health hautaipata sana. Ama itaku affect sana kama for sure iko.
Wow. This is something else, but I think
a storybook.
I read a novel. Me, I read daily. I read the Bible daily, and that really helps. It nourishes you, you know. It makes you a bold guy, like maybe David or who.
Yeah, I think you've given me a few minutes, so let me go through my questions. I mean, have you ever been pressured to change a story or maybe frame it in a particular way?
Yes. I had this toxic guy, boss, who loved to do that. Tells you, well, do this. If you're writing about this guy, it must be like this.
Okay.
So there's a time the truth about truthfulness built up in me, and I decided to do this story and bypass him. I just sent it direct to the in-charge editor because I realized if it passes through him, then he'll mutilate the story. Then it will not be what actually
initially wrote.
So I did it.
So was it like he was being oiled by that person, or why did he want you to write a story in a particular way?
I'm not sure, but I think there was a relationship. A sexual relationship, and I think he was bringing.
You're hitting under the belt?
No, you're just bringing these emotional bits. I mean, the person I was covering, I think they shared something and whatever with her, and when I was writing this piece, it was a court story. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I had to write what was in the court paper. So, but this guy wants you to change that. He's so crazy. So I did, and
so what was the reaction after it was?
The reaction was that he purported to sack me. I knew he had no grounds.
Really?
Yeah, he purported to sack me. Ati when nimekufuta toka sijui what not. I told him, hey, do it in writing. He didn't. He didn't do it in writing, but he asked the what do you call the watchman, take this young man out of office. I've sacked him. You do what? To cut this long story short,
I can relate.
There was drama.
He was summoned. In fact, he was warned, and a letter was written to all regional bureau chiefs on how to deal with stuff, because most of them were acting out of impunity, and that
Sometimes a story can be changed based on companies' commercial interests. Sometimes your story will be killed, and you have put in your best. You know, this is my best. But then when you submit the story, you realize the company commercial interests supersedes the public interest in that story. So you let it go. Yes.
Wow. But okay, like you've been journalist for this period, you're still a journalist. So how has your journalism changed your view about the society, your community? Yeah.
Well, I realized that the community will actually value the best. The community will go for the best. The community are not as dumb as the media environment wants to make out of them. That's why the community is smart enough. They are living, and quickly so. The legacy, media is struggling, it's just doing a catch up. And I realized quality sells because there are smaller outlets doing so well just because of quality.
Yeah.
Outlets like you see, you're doing this podcast because the legacy media feel that, they cannot stoop too low to do such a podcast and cover some of these important things that the community needs you to know. So I realized we're dealing with a very sharp audience, and we have to up our game, or else we doomed.
You want to share your experience, or we?
The audience is technologically savvy. We are in the era of AI, ChatGPT, social media and stuff. So that means journalists must evolve immediately and be at par with what the community wants. You can imagine an accident happening here and somebody with a smartphone picks it and a post kwa social media, WhatsApp, anasema 2 people died, 7 injured. As a journalist, what are you going to write about it? They already know. They already consumed that story. What tells you in the evening? What will make them watch your TV or read the paper the following day? So that is where day-to journalism comes in. And then on community perspective, you can be somewhere and you will find people saying, Amalemba is a very sharp journalist, but yule Vayo hatumwamini sana. Ile he does her things like in so they are able to judge and see who is doing good, who is doing badly in the media space. And then the community, at one point they can praise you when what you are writing is favoring them. The following day, the same people who are praising you, they'll be casting aspersions and even wanting to beat you when you write something they perceive is against their interests. Yes. So the community is we are in a comsi situation, 50-50. Today they'll praise you, tomorrow they'll hurl insults at you. So long as, depending on which side of the coin they are, by the time your story is being published.
Or maybe you go cover them and the story is killed and they'll be like, you have been pocketed.
Yes.
and even some will say, my opponent paid you to write this story. And they will even call your boss. Before I left Standard, in the run-up to 2022 general election, I was doing a lot of political analysis. So, you know, I did a story about women race in Vihiga. There were around 17 women aspirants for the women rep seat. But in my research, I managed to get 13. The other 4, I had not heard of them. One of them literally wrote a complaint letter to the editor-in-chief and said, I have been paid not to write about her, and she was the best, commanding huge support in the county. So that letter is forwarded to me the following day. Then I'm like, who is this? I don't know her. I've never heard of her. Where does she comes from? And then wananitumia namba ananiambia call her. I never called her. So after elections, she was alianguka bila kupingwa. She was successfully number 14 out of 17 in the rest. But you can imagine the kind of bile alikuwa now when she was writing that letter and sending to the editor-in-chief so that I can be punished because I've been paid to leave her out of the story.
I know, Amalemba, you said you're a hardcore, you don't cry, but I want to ask this. Have you ever cried because of a story, either during or after reporting or writing it? Have you ever cried over a story? Never.
Cried.
Nathan, have you ever cried over, because of a story? Like either during or I have.
During emotions have ever carried me, and I had to stop what I'm doing, recollect myself first. The Kakamega story, to be particular, that one, it really touched me because I saw a daughter of my friend in the morgue, the 13. One of them was a daughter to my friend I know. Yes, I literally stopped everything. I recollected myself and then I continued with my work. Yes. So sometimes emotions will carry you. and then I'm now into the health space so much. I've done some 2 nice feature stories on sickle cell disease and autism. Now I was interviewing a caregiver, a mother who has an autistic child. We were in her house very early in the morning. So tuna interview, anatuambia vile mtoto wake ako na autism and stuff. The boy starts passing off. The boy just passed off in her hands. Na tumeka camera tuna record. So the boy is autistic and epileptic. So the mother akachilia ule mtoto. We had kurukia ule mtoto asifike chini because she literally started crying. Alikuwa na dadake. So we had to literally cry with her. And console her, not literally us crying tunapiga kelele, but emotions zinakuja tu na machozi yanatoka tu yenyewe. So you embrace her, amalize kulia so that you can continue the story. When I was handling the sickle cell story in Butere, I was interviewing a guy na crisis ikakuja. We had to stop everything, take this guy to the nearest hospital for medical attention, because if you don't do that, you are likely to lose him. Because when a sickler, yes, oh when a crisis come to a sickler, ukiwa karibu na, the best thing you can do, rush him to the hospital so that afanyiwe first aid, arudi ndio apatiwe hiyo madawa and stuff.
I also cried, but I don't want to share my story today. Today I'm not being interviewed.
So when you are in the health space, for health reporters, you will encounter situations that will make you emotive, you make you emotional, but you have to be there for your interview. You have to be there for them. They say feeling the pulse of the people. You must.
Even sports, your team can lose and those
are different kinds of emotions. But anyways, you cry. Yeah. Anyways, you cry. Yes. Now that you don't cry. Now,
feelings, but I don't. Well,
how do you deal with harassment, either offline or online? Or you've never experienced that as well?
Probably. I think the harshest of harassment I've experienced was a senator. I'll not name him. He took my piece, tagged the CEO of the Standard and said, "Hey, what is your guy on the ground doing?" He just quoted a certain MP as having read the president's speech in this event. This is not factual. My name is out there. My story is out there. But again, as I just told you, the truth. Apparently, this MP was so clever. He called Nairobi, the political desk, and told them, "Hey, Mindo Lisoma speech here, President." He knew the Nairobi guys were not on the ground. So the Nairobi guys do a line in the story, MP so and so read the president's speech. Then the president's speech was read, if I remember very well, by the governor. They call me, they ask me, "Hey, huyu senator ameweka story yako hapa na ametag CEO. The CEO has referred it to the editorial and said this is an editorial matter, let the editorial bosses deal with it." So what did you do? Is this statement attributed to you? Kasema, no, it's not mine. I gave them my truthful copy. I told them this is my truthful copy. Show me any of such a statement. Kasema,
we're sorry.
So truth, be factual, take time to.
And then on that,
the governor just decides to call you and tells you, "Nathan, why are you fighting me?" And immediately an editor has just called and told you, "Why are you fighting the government?" Then you're like, without mentioning names. At that story you are doing, you cannot hide the facts when it is a court story. You will never hide the facts because you must report what is there, the way they are in the court documents and everything and what you had. Because if you report your own things, there is this thing we call contempt of court. It will catch up with you very fast. Very fast, you'll be prosecuted. And then when I told him, that is from the court records, go confirm. He just hangs the phone and clicks. So harassment we have received, left, right and center. But that is journalism. If you have never been harassed or somebody maligned your name, then you are not a journalist.
There's something wrong you're doing, because if you're doing the right thing, I think you need to be harassed.
Yes. Yes.
What is the biggest challenge? What is this biggest challenges, maybe as we finalize, that you feel like, you know, journalists in Kenya are facing?
I can say financial stability is a major challenge, especially the pay, especially when you are an upcoming journalist, you are a freelancer, you are a stringer, you are a correspondent also, because your pay depends on the more you publish, the more you get paid. It is like, ni kama job ya sales. Ukiuza simu sana ama ukiuza sola sana, ndio paycheck inakuwa kubwa. So that one needs to be linked, and even those who work for local media outlets, the suffering is very much big, and financial stability, if that thing is sorted. And then one of the challenges you're also facing, the government is trying to gag everybody in the media space, and one of the way they have successfully done it is by denying media houses money. You find you advertise government programs, but then that money inaenda kwa pending bill, inakaa kwa 3, 4, 5 years. And you see, media survives on adverts. So when we do advertise with you and you don't pay us, then automatically I'll not pay my staff. And then that ripple effects goes to their family, and that's why mental stress comes in. Yes. So financial stability and being gagged is one of the biggest challenges we are facing.
I believe the biggest challenge we're facing is this digital shift. Largely, the traditional media is taking eternity to move with the crowds, to move with the audience. The audience already moved, but playing a catch up. You realize that AI in newsrooms is never taught. AI in any school, journalism school curriculum is not there.
Yeah.
Go to any school curriculum today and you realize guys are being taught on how to adjust the camera. And you see, AI does that for you today. Get into a room, you don't need to do the bullshit that people used to do in the 90s, 80s. So that is not taught. Most of the guys who teach also in these institutions, some of them have no hands-on experience in newsrooms and all that. And it's just good. They encourage their students, so they liaise with the journalists in the field to actually come and train, help their students learn and know what is happening in the real-time newsroom. Then another thing is that
I think they just need to revise the whole thing, the overhaul of
this curriculum.
The curriculum,
keep tabs with what is happening, and also I realize the kind of stories that we're doing. See, now in the current dispensation, of knowledge dissemination is that news no longer matters because it's very unlikely that what you're going to report tomorrow in the evening, the next hour, that the next guy seated next to you is not aware of it. So what matters, and this what is running, the industry in the US, UK, where even readership, especially of a newspaper, is still high. The internet penetration is the how they are telling their stories. We go to the field, but how we'll tell our stories, how you come out with a different copy, he comes out with a different. The how, what pleases them, the narrative kind of beat. You see, nowadays is like, people want to do more of narratives, people want to do more of podcasts, people want to do more. The how matters. News never matters now. It's the how you put it, how you present it. It's like, I'll give an example of Congo. In Congo, there's a time they used to go with music. They go with sukus. They start, suku, they sing. They so go with Kiliwanzenza. They sing Kiliwanzenza. Everybody has a line of Kiliwanzenza. They go with Ndombolo. Everybody has a line of Ndombolo. But how you bring out the Ndombolo is what made this man called General Difao be called the king of Ndombolo. He brought the Ndombolo in a way, they're all singing Ndombolo, 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 but you see how he brings it out. It came out in a matter that made him be called the king of. So for all media industry guys, how we bring out our stories, it will
Matters.
define you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Oh wow. So I know that all of us, we have been in this media space, and you've worked with different media houses, moving from one point to another. How was your transition?
Well, I started, first of all, in fact, this is what I really appreciate. I started doing my writing, doing letters to the editor. Then my first assignment was doing a magazine, a university magazine. I was the editor of that university magazine called Password. And interestingly, it's a magazine that I think people should do a story about, because all editors of that magazine eventually ended up being employed by the Standard newspaper. I don't know how, whether it was whatever means, but the transition, while I was doing going through the Standard as a correspondent, I did corresponding for around 2.5 years. Then people are watching what you're doing. I received a call from Nairobi. Hey guy, you do a lot of stories of Crazy Monday, Nairobi, and that kind of stories. We need a guy, a sub-editor, Crazy Monday. There'll be an interview on such and such a date. Please avail yourself. Then that's how I transitioned to become a sub-editor. I did that. Then at Crazy Monday, I did the editing Crazy Monday magazine's desk. Then after magazine's desk, then I went to the whatever news desk and news production, because in the media industry, there's a bit of news gathering and news production. Now, production is those guys who now, refine your copy, add the flair, the glare, and all that, madoido, and all that. And then so while doing being a correspondent in the news gathering, go to the ground, get the news, then delivery. Then after doing that stint for doing being in the newsroom, doing ABC gathering and producing, then now I'm writing, and I'm writing among the publications I'm writing for currently is Mail and Guardian in South Africa. Then there's Afrique 21 in France. And if you Google, you just see the kind of stories these guys want. They are demanding pieces. You pitch, they approve the pitch, they give you time to do. The other time I told them, well, this story I'll do it for 7 days. They just told me, no, you can't do this for 7 days. You won't give us the best. I realized by then those guys are trained and hands-on journalists who know what they're doing. If they tell you by then, and I did that story for more than 7 days, then I discovered truly think the way you practice journalism in Kenya and the way you practice abroad, very different. How they bring the story out, you look at it. How they want you to bring it out, you look at it and say, hey, for sure, that's why these guys can still maintain an audience. Thank you.
Nathan, how was the transition?
Transition KNS to Standard. When I was in Kenya, of course, I had nice stories there, and then I saw vacancies the last day of application. To nika-apply nikajipata Standard, so I came in as a correspondent without retainer. After a while, I was given a retainer, and then after a while, I was made a reporter, then transferred to Nairobi. And then it was somewhere in the run-up to the general elections. And then that time, I was also writing for an international media outlet called Bad News Agency. The same way Amalemba is saying, there is a story I did, and those people returned that story 5 times. I was like, kwani maribika? It's like I was like, do you guys not been in this space for over 7 years by that time? But I just realized what they wanted after the final copy that came out changed my thinking, changed my perspective and everything on how you can tell a story that any other person in the part of the world can read and relate with the story, despite it coming from a local setup. Because that story, after they published on their website, it was picked by other 5 media outlets in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and in New Zealand. They picked the same story and published. Yes. So now I'm a health and science reporter, Willow Health Media. Yes. We deal with the health issues only.
2 questions to go. What advice would you give to aspiring journalists, young journalists who are joining the trade?
It's a selfish profession. No one will actually not get you'll be lucky to find a mentor. Please help yourself. Read.
This is a selfish profession.
They need to be resilient, they need to be courageous, and they must push for things to happen. Nobody will be there to tell you what to do. Do it by yourself. Be the person.
So, like, do you see yourself doing this the rest of your life, and why?
Yes. Ochieng Ogada is just passed on last month or the other month. Was 65. He was an editor. That's why I love writing. I retire when I want.
Yes, in journalism, there is no retirement age. Judges retire at 75 years, but in journalism, no, you only shift goalposts, but you retire when you die. Yes.
So, lastly, I want us to share with us what's this one story that you still want to tell that keeps you awake all the night? Like, you still want to tell this story.
Wow,
that is
interesting one. Go fast as I think about.
What is this one story that you still want to tell? I mean, it keeps you every night, like you're still awake thinking about this story. I have to tell the story.
Cross-border coffee smuggling between Kenya and Uganda. It beats logic how coffee from Kenya can find its way in Uganda, and then in Arudisha it also very expensive. And then people who produce coffee are not rich, but the cartels are very rich. It beats logic. I did a lot of investigations around that story in 2017, 18, 19. Mpaka nikapigiwa simu, Nathan, from today, don't submit a coffee story. I will kill it. So there is a lot happening in the coffee industry that has not been reported about, that I think we need to report about it.
Wow.
Yes. Well, I just thought of this story, but I love to do it because there's a story I did. There's a guy who was defiling the daughter. He defiled her for 3 or so weeks. He's a powerful guy, related to very senior politician. He threatened everyone, and anyone who was testifying against him in court. But eventually, to cut the long story short, he was jailed for life, and the kid, unfortunately, out of that encounter, the kid conceived and they gave birth to a child. So this child eventually alimpeleka in children's whatever center. So she always tells me, anataka kuenda kumuona, alitaka kumlea. I mean, it was so heavy. I always want to follow up on this girl just to learn how she's faring on. She has an M-Pesa shop somewhere in town, how she's faring on, whether she's healed from that, because the last time we spoke, she had never healed of that after relieving the child and the Kwayo center. She still says she's the mother to the child. Attachment is there, but you see, I have to let go, because how will I explain that to the child? So that story, I still feel fuatilia tujue how she's healing, because will she ever heal?
Okay, maybe your last words to our viewers and our listeners today. I know I'll still host you guys because we have a whole lot of things that we really need to talk about. I had to cut most of my questions because of time. I know you're going to work. So what is your last sentiment? And maybe as you do that, do you think that journalists are given a platform just to talk about themselves and the experiences they go through? As we sum up.
Yes. I think there's that initiative called Kenyans for Kenya, where guys who are raising money to help Kenyans in drought-stricken areas. So a time has come whereby journalists should not become their brothers and sisters keeper. We should be there for our fellow journalists. we should stand for ourselves, because nobody is coming, nobody's there to stand for us.
Viewers, that we're still there for you. We're willing to give you the best. You can count on us. And also, there is little said about journalists, because people think journalists don't matter until when they matter. Thank you.
People believe that journalists are not from Earth.
Yeah, not from
so
Earth. Yeah.
nothing much to talk about journalism and all that. You guys, you need to talk about us, but no one is going to talk.
And people think we know everything. I normally tell them, no, we don't know everything. We must be fed with information.
Exactly.
Yes. And they normally say we peddle lies a lot. We don't. We only write facts.
Yeah, and journalists should also not give up, because let's say that they'll despise you, but they cannot ignore you. Eventually, you realize these guys come for you, tell you, hey, I need this app, we need to know tunanyanyaswa hapa, fanya that story. And they say, ajani sana watuburi achana now, they're not including in anything, they don't even know whether you need to rest or anything, but you see, eventually they'll come for you, tell you. So journalists should not give up, because giving up is a giving up on society, just a mirror of society.
They actually say that journalists are eyes and ears of the society, and so of course we will continue doing what we do all the time, and we will not get tired, and no retreat, no surrender. Yeah, so that has been our very, very first episode on Behind the Byline, where I will be hosting a journalist and just sharing our own experiences, what we go through, because actually we don't have a platform to air this. So we need to, and as Nathan has said, really we need to be there and be a brother's keeper. We need to talk about these things and tell you basically what we go through. Sometimes these people, they get the final copy, but they actually don't know the raw thing that actually happens behind the scene. So this platform will be able to tell you basically what we go through before, during, and even after we have aired our stories. Till next time, kwaherini.
That's all.